today's topic or subjects of discussions. So the talk is looking at the difficult, challenging situation and time, the crisis that we are facing, and of course, any kind of difficult and challenges situation that we encounter in different time in our life, you know, and when we look for and analyze any kind of situations, including the present crisis, you know, we can look and understand from many point of view. You know, it can be looked from the point of view of political point of view, economic from point of view, you know, and environment point of view, and spiritual point of view, from so many different point of view that we can look at the situations. Today here, what I'm going to talk is, because I'm not expert in other areas, we are going to talk from looking at the situation from the point of view of spiritual path, especially Buddhist, from Buddhist point of view, or from the lens of the Buddhist point of view, you know, and so that is, and even when we are trying to look at certain situations, such as the present crisis, even from the Buddhist point of view, or from the lens of Buddhist view, you know, there are many different point of view, again, to look at the situations, you know, from the point of view of impermanent, from the point of view of, you know, karma, from the point of view of dependent arisings, from the point of view of mind trainings, and so many, again, even from the Buddhist point of view, the situation can be looked and analyzed, and from the point of view of many different subjects. Today, I'm going to focus more on one particular point of view of Buddhism, from the karmic point of view. And it is, this subject is quite challenging, I think, for most of us, you know, and it is difficult subject. It is an important part of the subject within the Buddhism, one of very important subjects. At the same time, it is one of the subjects which is not so easy to understand, to explain, to apply in our everyday life, and And it is subject which is very much misunderstood and sometimes misused as well. And probably we will come more later how it can be misused, sometimes due to not fully understanding it, due to ignorance, or sometimes due to self-interest, by certain individuals. And in terms of the difficulty of understanding the karma fully is difficult in Buddhist studies. They kind of talk about three kind of phenomena. One, I don't know, maybe manifested phenomena, hidden phenomena, and most hidden phenomena. And those manifesting phenomena are easy to understand with our sense objects, sense consciousness. You can see with your eye consciousness, understand the form, the shape, color, and like that. And some others subjects such as impermanent or emptiness cannot be understood by our sense objects, but it has to be understood by our mental consciousness through inference, reasoning and logic, like that. And the most hidden phenomena is again to understood from the mental consciousness, but even more subtle inference, reasoning, and logic. And subtle karma is part of that most hidden phenomena. So even from that category, we know how not easy it is. And in some of the Buddha's, uncommon qualities or inner realizations is again the understanding of the subtle impermanent, subtle karma, even the arhat and bodhisattvas are unable to fully grasp and fully understand the most subtle karma, so from that, maybe it might be helpful. I might read some quotations from one particular Lamrim, Liberation Palm by Papawa Rinpoche. In there where he says, there are many stories of past, therefore karma is more subtle and difficult to understand than the emptiness. We already struggle with the emptiness. And here, as it says, is even more difficult and subtle than the emptiness. The profoundness and subtleties of the emptiness can be understood and explained by arhats. The subtle karma is the object of only Buddha's enlightened mind. Karma is so subtle, therefore should be very careful with even the most tiniest unwholesome actions. So that is, so again, I just wanted to kind of let you know, it takes time to really fully grasp understanding and then applying it becomes even more difficult. It is easy for us to apply for others. Oh, it is karma, it is karma. But when it comes to ourselves, it's extremely difficult to apply that, and the karma is not for others to apply, but it is to apply for ourselves, and we so easily say, oh, it is their karma, it's your karma, it's their karma. So easy for us to say it. But when it happens to us, it's so difficult to accept that. When it happens to us, it's so difficult to accept it's a result of our karma. And the purpose of discussing and talking about karma here today and looking from karmic point of view to the situations is not necessarily to kind of change the external situation itself, but rather it is we want to discuss and talk about it so that we can try to apply as much as possible in our life. And by applying that the concept of karma in such difficult, challenging situations, so that we can overcome through the understanding and the acceptance of the karmic point of view. That's so we can overcome whatever frustration that we might have, whatever anger and harmful feelings that we might have towards others, so that we can overcome whatever kind of fear, anxiety that we might have, by understanding, by applying the karma, and so thereby making our mind more quiet, more calm, more peaceful, And that is the purpose of, that is the purpose to talk about it, discuss. And so is that the practice, the meditations, the practice on the contemplation of karma is to let go of all the those boiling of those negative emotions that is kind of bothering our, disturbing and bothering our mind, and it is to kind of cooling down of that, and that is the purpose that we have to understand. The reason to it is neither to kind of blame someone, or is neither to kind of defend and justify someone's harmful actions and behavior, but is mainly to help us to keep our mind being more more peaceful, more calm, and even more compassionate. So because when things goes wrong, due to whatever, due to whoever, due to whatever situations, when things are in crisis, when there is difficult, challenging situations, circumstances, not only it is challenging, difficult externally because of the external situations, but then due to our mind being very much overwhelmed by one of those emotions, whether it is fear, whether it is anxiety, whether it is frustration, whether it is anger, whether it is hateful feelings, that make things much worse. That make things much worse. Then we suffer double. We suffer from the external challenges, and now we are struggling with internal challenges due to those emotions. Due to those emotions, so then we have double suffering, double struggles. And we might not be able to change the external circumstances, but at least we can deal with our internal. At least we can deal with our internal struggles and challenges through working with our mind from many different practice, from many different perspectives and angles. And one practice and working from one angle in one practice is not the only, but one of them is from the karmic point of view. And so that is why I wanted to kind of talk and touch on that subject today, and some of the others subjects, topics, that how we can look at the situation from different point of view. Maybe we can talk next time, next week. But today I kind of wanted to look from this perspective, from the karmic perspective. So that is where kind of the reason why I wanted to talk, that is where we have to kind of keep that in our mind, why it is important to, and in the past, many practitioners, many teachers, lamas from the Tibet, by understanding from the karmic point of view, they were able to keep their mind from being overwhelmed by frustration, anger, and hatred towards the Chinese government or the people who imprison them and torture them without any reasons or any good reasons, despite being imprisoned, tortured, still they were able to not to feel so much anger and hatred and those negative feelings, and to be able to kind of accept from their karmic point of view and not totally blaming to the Chinese government and the people who are involved there. And from a certain point of view, accepting the involvement of their own karma within that involvement of their own karma within that complexity of this everything's, and complexity of the depending arising, many cause and condition coming together, and accepting that their karma is strongly involved with that, for that kind of experience. And through that, not totally blaming them, and therefore, not being so upset, angry, and hatred toward them, and to be able to let it go. They were able to let it go of any bad feeling they had, by looking from karmic point of view, and by accepting from karmic point of view, they were able to let it go, those negative feelings, and they were able to forgive them, and they were able to move on without being caught up in the past due to the past pain and sufferings. Also to be able to see and accept from karmic point of view, they didn't feel like they were the victims, and they didn't feel like they are victimized, and so they were not kind of caught up in that state of mind. Instead, they were able to come out of that mind and move forward. That is the key. You don't want to get stuck in the past, and we shouldn't be stuck in the past, and we should be able to move forward, and understanding, looking from karmic point of view, understanding and accepting can help to do that. Definitely, it has done to many practitioners and lamas in the past. Definitely, it has helped them, definitely. And even in my personal cases, of course, it is, as I mentioned before, it's hard to apply to ourselves when things are challenging and doesn't go right due to many causes and conditions, to be able to kind of look from karmic point of view, understand from karmic point of view, and to be able to accept. It's not easy, but whenever I'm able to apply, and whenever I'm able to do that, sometimes successful, sometimes not so successful, but when I'm able to do and when it's successful, it does help. It does help a lot. I think for many of you, you have heard my stories that I have shared before, like in 2012 when I was on, in Europe, traveling in Europe, teachings in Poland, I was on train, and my baggage with all the important document, including passport, tickets, insurance, and laptop, and money, everything was stolen, At the very beginning, of course, for a while, I was almost like panicking, and kind of shocked and unbelieving, kind of almost like denial step. It can't be, how can it be? And thinking it must be somewhere there. It can't be gone, kind of almost like denial state. But after I checked, then it was sure that it was gone. And as I reflect and contemplate on that situations, and as I reflect more, as I started to sit and reflect in the train, the more I concentrate, the more I think it, the more I felt, there was some karmic things. The more I felt like that I had a debt, that karmic debt that I need to kind of clear. That was my feeling as I reflect, contemplate more and more with the whole situations. And once I'm able to make sense of that and able to accept that, then I was able to be more peace and calm, and I was able to be more peaceful, more calm, and I was able to dedicate for that person's, whoever that might be, and of course, it didn't change the situation, external situations. It is that I didn't get my things back. But what it did, it didn't change the circumstances, but what it did is it helped my mind to be more quiet, more calm, more accepting, and without any anger, hatred, ill will feelings, and so that's saved my state of mind. That make my mind not only, so I didn't have to deal with two struggles, the external struggles of losing and also struggle with my mind. Of course, I did struggle a little bit at the very beginning. But then once I was able to apply, as I contemplate and able to see and it did definitely help my mind to be more peaceful, more calm. And also I have shared that story with some of you, I think, in the classes. One time I was flying, I don't remember exactly, it might be in Nepal, one of a small plane. And sometime, like sit with 18, 16 people. And when it's windy, it is very shaky, It's really quite scary and shaky. And it might have been one of those flights, even though I can't recall which flight exactly. And I was looking from the window, and suddenly fear arises. Suddenly a thought arises in my mind, oh, if something happens, they wouldn't even find the body, You saw all the mountains, rugged mountain, and no one there, and place hardly anyone can, it seems like. And a thought arises from nowhere as I was looking down suddenly. And when that thought arises, then there was a fear, And then I noticed, I can see and I noticed that there was fear. I was fearful. Again, as I sit down and trying to reflect, contemplate, and trying to deal with that fear, again, a thought about karma came in my mind. Something about karma came in my mind. And in my mind, it came, a thought, well, if my karma is to die today, I don't have to be in this flight. I could be walking in the Kathmandu, and I could have accident, a car, a motorcycle can hit me, like it happens many times. Many people lose their life like that. Or I could be in my bed, sleeping and never wake up. And I could be anywhere. I could be doing anything. If my karma is so strong, I don't have to be in this plane to lose my mind. If my karma is not ripening today, even is the windy and all of that, it should be okay, and being able to kind of come to that kind of conclusions, make my mind much less fearful and more peaceful. Being able to accept, if it's my karma to die today, there's nothing I can do about it. And if it's not, then I don't have to worry about it. That kind of thoughts came in my mind. And once that thought came in my mind, and I'm able to kind of accept that, then definitely the fear was definitely reduced. And after some time, I forgot about the fear, then there was no fear. So again, that really helped me to deal with that fear, or the almost like anxiety, panicking, that part, again, there is nothing I could do externally to change, there's nothing I could do about it. You are already in a plane, and whatever storm, wind it is there, you can't change it. Nothing can be changed. But definitely, the fear that was in my mind, which is making me miserable, I could do something about that and not feel that so mentally so miserable. And of course, there are many different practices one can apply in dealing with that. But in that state of mind, in my cases at that time, about karma suddenly came up. And looking from karmic point of view and accepting from karmic point of view, definitely it did help me to overcome the fear through that kind of acceptance. Recently, I don't know, maybe 3 weeks ago, somewhere, 3-4 weeks ago, I don't remember exactly, 3-4 weeks ago, I was talking with my elder brother in Nepal, because one of his son, my nephew, is in New York, working in the hospital. So of course, you have some concern about, and so I was speaking with him, and then I asked him whether he has spoken with his son, and how he's doing and how he's feeling, and my brother said, yes, he spoke with him and he's doing okay and fine. And then I asked him how he's feeling about it, because it's not easy. In general, in this country, and with this crisis, and especially in New York, and especially people who work in the front line, the doctors, nurses, and those in hospitals, and he said, well, there is nothing I can do about it. And he said, I just trust the karma and the 3 jewels. And I just kind of, whatever happens according to karma and the three roots, so be it. And so that was his kind of how he felt, that was his reactions. And I was quite happy to see that he wasn't so overwhelmed by fear, anxieties, what might not, all kind of things that could happen, especially as a parent towards their children, even more so. And so again, even in that conversations, through that, what kind of I kind of observed and what I kind of felt was that again, he has applied the karma in that case, and basically, if there is nothing externally, that nothing he can do to change that, but in dealing with his mind, he is just kind of being accepting with whatever karma is involved there, and I think again that kind of accept, and I think help him to be less fearful and less anxiety about the situations that his son can be get into, so that is the reason. Okay, that is the reasons why I wanted to kind of discuss and talk about looking from karmic point of view, mainly to deal with our own those negative emotions, difficult emotions, dealing with that. Not to kind of blame someone, not to blame oneself, blame someone's or their karma or our karma, or to kind of neither is to kind of defend and justifies anyone's harmful, hurtful behavior or actions, but meant to do with our own work with our own mind. So it is, I believe it is important to understand that point of view, that point. So I think we will have also when we are able to understand the karma better, and when you are able to apply the karma in our everyday life, each of us, we become more responsible. We take more responsible in our actions because we understand each of our actions has consequences. Each of our actions, whether it's a positive and good actions, or whether it's negative and bad actions, either through any of the three doors, body, speech, and mind, each of those actions had consequences. by understanding each of such actions has consequences, we become more careful with our actions. We take more risk, we take responsibility with our actions. And that karmic practice help us to have a better ethical discipline and practice. In that practice, it helps us to have a more stronger and better ethical and moral discipline in our life, which is very important. So in relation to that, I want you to kind of read a quotation from one of His Holiness teachings, where he says, if more people believe in the law of karma, of course, not just believe, but if you really apply it, sometimes we believe something, but we don't really actually implement it, and so, of course, here His Holiness is saying, implementing too, if more people believe in the law of karma, we would never need a police force or a peace treaties. But without an inner convictions that nobody can escape the consequences of their actions, even if we employ many types of external means in order to enforce the law, we will never be able to build a peaceful society. And again, we see that in many parts of the world, even though there are so many, employ so many external forces, still they struggle to find a peace. If human society is to improve, it is not enough to enforce external laws, So it is not only enough. Of course, that could help to a certain degree, but it has to come from individuals, each of individuals, people in the society, the world, from taking the responsibility for their actions. So here he's on the kind of, we need to have recourse on our inner judge. And so that is, again, how better understanding karma, and when we apply and implement it, then it can help to build more peace in ourselves, and to create more peaceful society in the world, because each of us will be more mindful, more careful of our actions and our behavior, and more responsible of our actions due to that understanding. Otherwise, we human find always, no matter how much law it makes, we find a what we call loophole in all of them, and misuse it, all the laws. So I think we will have a 10 minutes of short break, okay? And there's some. Okay, so we'll see in 10 minutes. So if whatever you need to use restroom or tea, whatever, okay. Individuals who are not following the guidelines and so on and the different things, and it started to make you frustrated and even angry and all of that. And then as I reflect more and more, then definitely there is contribution from those. There is contributions by the leaders' decisions, actions, as well as the behavior of citizens. There is no doubt there is a contribution from their point, but also there is a very strong involvement of our own karmic potential there. And then when I kind of come to that more towards that kind of conclusions, understanding, then I don't blame totally everything on them, and to be able to kind of accept to a certain level from your karmic point of view, then I think the frustration and anger is less. And I think that is all, again, that is all it matters, we can't change the outside people's mind, behavior, but at least I can reduce my fear, my anxiety, my frustration, my anger, and I think at least for me, looking from that point of view does help to reduce that to certain degree, to certain level, and sometimes I wonder whether this is the result of our collective karma of the human beings of killing and mistreating the animals. Because this one is coming from animals, supposedly from the wet meat market, if that is the case, and is related with the animals. And sometimes I wonder, whether it's a strong karmic collective karma of our behavior, our actions towards the animals, how we mistreat them, how we kill them for our satisfactions. How our actions is directly related of that. And not only this time, also that has happened in the past, whether it's SARS or many other diseases that came from animals, animals, and definitely there is a connection between our human beings' actions, our human beings' actions towards what we do with the planet, how we treat the planet, how we treat the animals, how we treat the environment, so sometimes I was joking with some of my friends, when we're talking on these subjects, before we kind of use our power to kind of we human beings use our power to kind of to subdue or kind of suppress the animals. Now they are getting back to us. Now we are in prison and they are looking from outside. Now we are being caged and they are roaming outside. Before we catch them, And now it is the other way around. And it is also a nice learning, to see how it is like to be, even we can roam totally in our room and we have our own space, how difficult it is to remain inside, even for a short period, how many ever months that we have been staying, and that just give you an idea what it is like for the animals to be caged, or even when they are not fully caged, even when they are in our house roaming, still they don't have total freedom to roam wherever they want to go. And it kind of made me to just to reflect how they might be going through, if that is how we are going through now, even for a short period, and naturally they are more kind of wild than us, so anyway, it kind of made me to kind of reflect on that. So anyway, I'm saying sometimes I wonder whether this is a collective karma of our action behavior in relation to the animals, the environment, the planet, So I think this can be another awakening moment for we human beings, to be more aware why we shouldn't mistreat other animals, and why we should try to reduce consumptions of meat. Of course, it will be wonderful if we can stop eating it and stop contributing towards that. But even we cannot stop fully, whether we can reduce the consumptions of that. I hope, due to these situations, maybe more people consume the meat less, So then, so then, what is karma? It is a karma is, as I said, it can be kind of misunderstood a lot and even misused a lot. And someone asked me a question: what is different between law of cause and effect and karma? And I think that is good questions. And in relation to karma, in Tibetan is called le, and so in le means actions, and actions mean, process of something happening. It is not so passive and kind of action means something's happening. And so anyway, first of all, there is a law of cause and effect, and you can see in external world, with all the plants, the whole environment, the whole world, and everything that live in that. You can see how certain cause and conditions lead to certain result. There's consequences, whether it's climate, weather, whether it's plant, and everything's our state of economic, everything's there is a cause and conditions. that lead to particular result, particular situations, particular effect. That is where things are. That is the law of cause, just like a law of gravity. That is how things are. It is just a law. And our experience also are part of ourself and our physical body, our mind, our experience also are part of that law of cause and effect. Due to certain cause and conditions, we have certain body, certain health. Due to certain cause and conditions, we have certain state of mind, certain state of attitude, certain state of experience, and those changes when cause and condition changes, when the circumstance changes, the result, the experience changes. And so that is part of the general kind of law of cause and effect. When we talk of karma, then when that general law of cause, within that law of cause and effect, when sentient beings' mind or intention and motivation get involved, then another new cause is involved with that law of cause and effect. And through the involvement of that human's mind, intention, motivation within the context of the general law of cause and effect, then that produce that cause that is involved with the human intention, motivation, mind, produce particular experience within the sentient beings. And so that is the result of that sentient beings' karma. And so that and that is, even though it is not explained very detailed, but there is a little bit of it, like mentioning of that in one of the Shantidevas. I don't remember which chapter. It might be chapter 9. There is a couple of, maybe there's one verse where he spoke about cause and condition for like, form, physical form, and different cause and conditions. Law of cause and effect. And then later, in 1-2 verses, then he spoke about human beings' experience, not human, sentient beings' experience due to our karma, and kind of differentiating those two things. And there is general law of cause and effect. So the plant, the law of cause and effect with the plant, we don't call it really karma. But when we talk about karma, then we're talking about within the law of cause and effect, when sentient beings' mind, intention, motivation involved, then it creates certain particular cause and condition that produce particular effect and experiences within the sentient beings. So then you can then you can say, karma is very particular with the experience of sentient beings, whereas general law of cause and effect is not necessarily involved with the sentient beings' experience. And also in the Buddha's rice seedling sutra, Buddha, when he explained about dependent arisings, he took one's rice seedling, and then he said, because of this that is produced, because of this existence that exists, by showing the cause, and then showing because of this cause, that result is produced. Because of this, in terms of rise, showing with the rise, because of this existence, that result is existed. And so then he explained general law of cause and effect or dependent arising that, and then he goes specific law of cause and effect or specific dependent arising. Then after that he explained due to the ignorance, then he explained the 12 link. Due to the ignorance, actions produced, due to actions, consciousness produced, and so forth. Then samsara rebirth, and aging and sickness and so forth, and death. And so that is how, again, so karma, when we are talking about very specific law of cause and effect, which is very related with human, sentient beings' experience. So therefore, the intentions, the motive become very extremely important in karma. Of course, in general law of cause and effect, the motive is not needed all the time. Like a seed producing a sprout and sprout producing a plant, flowers and fruit. It doesn't require a motive. It is just the law of cause. But in terms of karma that produce sentient beings different experiences, then it requires the motive, the intention, the motive, the mind. That is so crucial. And so in relation to that, I wanted to kind of read where His Holiness says, everything that individual beings experience depend on their good or bad motives. They are root of our actions and experiences. And karma also has a metaphysical and ethical aspect. Bad karma must be rendered ineffective through good deeds, through good life. So again, as His Holiness says here, and as in all the scriptures, it says, the karma is very much related and dependent on the motive, intentions, the mind. So karma is the out of certain motive, intentions, and mind, certain potentials, energy of potentials is created. And that is what we can call karmic seed or karmic potentials. And that when we engage into certain actions with certain motive, intentions, that actions create, certain energy, or potentials. And that we can call is karmic potential, karmic seed, or karmic predispositions. And that is imprinted or planted within the mental consciousness, stream of mental consciousness. And when certain cause and condition, when certain conducive cause and condition come together, that karmic seed of potential is activated. And when that karmic potential or seed is activated by immediately certain conducive conditions, then experience result of that seed of potential, karmic seed of potential, is experienced, whether it's a pleasant experience or unpleasant experience, according to the what kind of seed or karmic seed or potential it is being activated. So, so that maybe I could. So, in relation to misunderstanding of karma, is that there is a misunderstanding of karma as being fixed. You can't do anything about it. It's karma. There's a lot of misunderstanding of that. As karma is seen as a fate, destiny, predetermined, fixed. And due to that being a very passive and not trying to change it, and not trying to stop it, not trying to transform it through your present immediate actions. And that is one of big misunderstanding, of karma, oh, it's my karma, so I can't do anything about it. As though that it has been already fixed, predetermined. Your karma can be changed. Your karma can be changed and transformed by changing your actions, by changing your present actions, your present behavior, your present mental state. Also, even the karmic potential or seed has been activated through certain cause and conditions, present certain cause and conditions, and even though it is ripening, still it doesn't mean we cannot change it. Sometimes the karma is already ripened, but it has not ripened fully. By changing your attitude, your actions, your behavior, or cause and conditions, we can stop karma from ripening fully. Even though we might not stop it, whatever is already ripened, but we can stop further ripening of it, fully ripening of it. And so therefore, maybe the karma has potential to last for long duration or to be much more intense experience. But by changing our mind, attitude, and actions and circumstances, we can stop from being more intense, more longer, or ripening fully. And so therefore, that is one thing we have to remember. And so there is karmic seed, past karmic seed or potentials, and there is immediate present cause and conditions that we create presently now. And together, or two of them, then it creates experience. And so therefore, even the karmic seed of potential is there from the past, but if we don't activate it, the karmic potential or seed, by our present certain actions, cause and conditions, then that karma seed cannot manifest and produce or ripen, or even it has already ripened, it cannot ripen fully. And so therefore, that is why there is no contradictions that is due to our past saying that there is a lot of our experience are definitely influenced by our previous karma. At the same time, we have the empowerment to change our life, our experience. So that karma has not already decided and fixed and determined, predetermined, but we can take in charge. We can take in charge our life with our present state of mind, behavior, actions. Because sometimes, that is how it can be misunderstood, for the karmic seed potential to produce the result, it is not enough of that karmic potential seed. It requires the cooperative cause and conditions that we create presently now with our attitude, actions, and circumstances. And so, therefore, by taking in charge of our behavior, our actions, our attitude, we can take in charge of our karma. We can take in charge of our life, our directions. And those both need important. And I think in relation to that, I think there is a sutra. I think it is very long to read all of them, but I don't know where this misunderstanding is kind of refuted, because even before Buddha came, there was some idea about karma. The thought of schools in ancient school, thought of school in ancient thought of school in India, even Buddha came, there was an idea of karma. But the karma idea of that is very different from the idea that Buddha presented. The idea of that is more like fate, destiny, predetermined, fixed. Your karma, your previous karma decide what you are going to have, what in this, and you can't do much about it. That kind of karma is refuted by the Buddha. And then Buddha come, there's a past karmic seed potential, but at the same time, you need the present cause and conditions. Only together, when they come together, then karmic result is experienced or produced. And because there is a refuting of the concept of karma of earlier schools, of that is being predetermined as a fate predetermined. Sometimes when you don't read the whole sutra and if you miss some of the, then it might feel like Buddha was refuting karma in general. I just read a little bit of that. And it is in one of the sutra, was called the Sutra of Nirvana. Here it says sutra, Gautama, I have a question, please explain. So one of the audience. And Buddha said, the person was, who was asking was good-hearted one, I don't know his real name, but if you translate from Tibetan, the name It is the good-hearted one. Buddha said, good-hearted one, time is ripening. Ask whatever you wish to ask. I will answer the questions. Then he asked, Gautama, ascetic and Brahman, so those are some of the earlier schools of the earlier ancient school of thought. Ascetic and Brahman says that experience of all the suffering and happiness by all sentient beings are due to past karma. If you really see it, it sounds very much like Buddhist, isn't it? Because we also use that very much. Says that experience of all suffering and happiness by all sentient beings are due to past karma. Therefore, if one observes discipline by experiencing bodily and mental suffering, for example, in some of their schools, as a part of their observance of discipline, then they jump into fire, or they walk on the nails, or they beat up themselves, and it's part of their purifications, So that is what he's saying. The previous karma will cease. If the previous karma cease, then suffering will cease. If the suffering cease, one will achieve the state beyond sorrow. What does that mean? So these persons are asking that they are saying that. So please explain me what that means. So asking to the Buddha. And Buddha said, son of the lineage, if the ascetic and Brahman says that with a compassion, go to them again and again and ask if it is true what you have said. If they say it is true, because they see directly that while sentient beings create, so they are saying they can see directly while some sentient beings create non-virtuous action but have wealth and power. And so he's saying it's due to their karma. But it sounds again, doesn't it sound very much like what we think? Whereas there are some who create virtuous actions, but who are poor and without power. Some work very hard, but cannot accumulate wealth. And whereas others get lots of wealth without any hard work. Some with kindness does not kill, but have short life. But others kill, still have long life. Some practice celibacy and put effort in keeping ethic. But there are some who attain liberation and some who do not. Therefore, all sentient beings experience suffering and happiness are due to previous karmic cause and conditions. And so they say that. And then to that the Buddha says, good-hearted one, I will ask this. Can they see so then ask them, can they see the previous karma? If there is karma, is there a loss or few? How much can be purified by going through the hardships? Now, can karma be ceased or cannot be ceased? If karma can be ceased, can all karma be ceased? I will ask that. So Buddha said, I will ask that question and you should ask them. If they say, I do not know, I will explain with an example. If a person has been tracketed by a poisonous arrow, the family find a doctor who can cure. The doctor treats the sick person or the wounded person, and if he recovers, after 10 years, he remembers that due to the doctor treating the wounds, he recovered and feeling healthy. I will ask, if you cannot understand the previous karma, how can you understand that previous karma will cease by going through hardship now? And if they say, Godama, also in your system, there is a previous karma, past karma. Therefore, how can you refute and reject my system of previous karma? Because in your Godama Sutras, it is said, if one sees someone rich with lots of wealth and power, see it as it is due to practicing generosity of the past. It is not the previous karma or past karma. So again, they're saying, how can you refute and reject our karma system? Because you also say, you have said that, due to practicing generosity in the past, then sentient beings become rich and have wealth in this life. So what's the difference? How can you? So that is the way they are asking, And to that, the Buddha said, and I will say, it is understood due to inference, not directly. So he say, karma can be understood through inference, reasoning, logic. In my system, some is understood, some of those law of cause and effect, understood as effect due to the cause. Some is understood as a cause due to the result. In Buddha's, my system or teaching, there is a previous karma and also present actions. That is the difference. Also the present actions. But in your system, it's only the previous karma and no present actions. And so that is where, and so there is a much more kind of discussions on that. And so at the end, it says, therefore, definitely there is past or previous phenomena as well as present cause and condition. Therefore, I said, due to the delusion, karma is created. Due to the karma, one experiences the result. Therefore, one should understand that all sentient beings have both previous karma as well as present cause and conditions. Even though there is karma or past, it is must to have cause and condition of present, like food and drink. So that, and then he gives some other examples and go through that. So what I'm trying to say is that what I'm trying to say is that, we have to understand when you talk about karma, past, both the past karmic seed and potential as well as our present cause and conditions by our present creating the cause and conditions through our actions and attitude and that. And so that is the, I guess because we are kind of running out of the time, even though so there is few questions which I'm going to answer. There is one question. When karma is ripening, as an example, when your bag was stolen, what could you have done to change something? How would you take charge? Well, I cannot change the actual circumstances. Of course, there was, like, I reported to the police. There is possible that through report, I might be able to recover, but I didn't. and they couldn't find. So that is one of the actions that I could take in terms of that when it was stolen, to report to the police, and there is possible of recovering it, getting it. But how I take in charge of that is by letting go of totally blaming and being angry and wishing them bad and having an ill will feeling, by kind of and then dedicating for them from my heart for that person's. I took in charge of how my karma and future is going to be. You know, if I have ill will feeling, anger, and that, again, I will continue to create the same kind of similar cause and conditions, and again create the cause and conditions for more misfortune and pain and suffering in the future, as well as I suffer immediately because of that, my negative emotions immediately, but also creating cause and conditions. And in that way, when you change your mental attitude, then you are changing direction of your life and direction of your future life and this life, how you want to process and move forward, you know. And so in that way, I would say that is how one can take. So there are a few questions someone has sent, you know, even though we are running out of time, but I hope I try to keep it a little bit. If one don't believe in karma, am I still a Buddhist? And it is a interesting questions. Generally speaking, in the scriptures, you find two ways of defining Buddhist and non-Buddhist, from the viewpoint of view and from practice point of view. From the viewpoint of view, if someone believe and accept what we call four great seal, then anyone who have that view is a Buddhist, and anyone who doesn't have that view is non-Buddhist. So the great four seals are all the conditioned phenomena, impermanent, all the contaminated experience are sufferings, all the phenomena are selfless and empty, and nirvana is peaceful. So those are the four. If someone accept and believe in that, then from the viewpoint of view, that person's Buddhist, and if not Buddhist. From the practice point of view, if one have refuge, then one is Buddhist, and if one does not have refuge, then it's non-Buddhist. And so again, of course, then there can be a lot of questions. Do you need to believe in a karma or reincarnations to go for a refuge, you know? And so I think maybe it might be a long discussions and much more a lot of discussion. So maybe you know, at the moment, maybe, you know, it's hard, you know, when you go to refuge. It seems like you need to believe in certain level of reincarnations, and because there's a minimum, you must be the cost to take refuge is to the reason, not wanting to be reborn in one of the lower realms, you know, for example. And if that is the case, then it seems like you need to believe, accept it. But I'm not 100% sure that, you know, someone can be a Buddhist without believing reincarnation, without believing karma. I can't say for sure, you know. But I think also this is a very important question as well, whether you are Buddhist or not Buddhist, you know. I don't know how important that question is also. I guess more than that question, maybe it would be, are we a good person? Are we a compassionate person? Are we a kind person? Are we doing something meaningful and beneficial, or are we doing a more harmful or not harmful, you know? And so sometimes maybe those questions might be something that comes in our mind, but sometimes those questions are not as important, whether you are Buddhist or not. That more important is how we live our life, and what kind of attitude and action that we engage in, you know. So there is another question. Karma seems to be sometimes be used as a concept to justify harm done to another. And as I said, that is how we can misuse, and it receives sometime. For example, in the case of about spiritual teachers sexually assaulting a student, could you please give a more detailed explanation of karma so we know how to think about those issues in broader terms? Then, well, it is their karma. And again, as I mentioned at the very beginning of the talk, how karma can be misused. And sometimes the teacher themselves might be used for their justify their harmful actions. And sometimes there's other students whom they have a very strong faith, devotions, might use it with others to justify their teacher's behavior as well, you know. And so again, in that case, it is totally being misused, you know. And when we misuse that, it's very harmful for the teachers themselves, who it is harmful for the victim. There is no doubt about that. It sounds like you don't have compassion for that victim. It feels like, you know, to say that. Even maybe that might be case, the karma involved there. But to say that is, it feels like you have no compassion for the victims, you know, and it is harmful for the victim. It's harmful for the teacher themselves to give them the freedom to do again such behavior. And it could be also, it is also harmful for yourself. And sometimes it could be because of, you know, you want to defend your teachers. So therefore your attachment to your teachers, wanting to defend your teachers. And sometimes it's maybe our ignorance, you know. And that can, because even though there is a karmic potential and seed, not only that victim has, we all have that similar karmic seed, you know. Everyone has that some level of karmic seed and potentials. But in order for that karmic seed and potential to activate, it depends on immediate many cause and conditions. So therefore the teacher's behavior and actions was the immediate cause and conditions to ripen that seed. And so therefore there is a responsible also for that teacher's behavior and actions. And so therefore that cannot be justified for such harmful actions and behavior. And that is how it can be misused. And so when you don't have total understanding of karma, in that how not only there is a previous past karma, karmic potential seed, but in order that karmic seed potential to ripen and manifest, it requires immediate cause and condition. If we can stop that immediate cause and condition, that karmic potential does not have to ripen. And by stopping that teacher's such harmful behavior and actions, that person's karmic seed, potential doesn't have to ripen, and they can purify that. And they don't have to experience that. And so therefore, I think that will be my kind of answer to that, even though I'm not so, yeah, that is what my understanding, And then there is another, can negative karma be purified, even if it has already started to ripen? Yes, it can be purified. For example, my karma to be born in this world at this time in my particular family cannot be purified. That is already ripened fully. But there are also many other karma that has already ripened, but not fully ripened, for in terms of my lifespan, in terms of what kind of health I might have, and in many different aspects of my life. Many karma is already ripened, but they have not ripened fully at the moment. And so there's some of them have ripened, but they are not fully ripened. And so therefore, through purifications, I can stop some of those negative karma from fully ripening. Even it has already ripened now, but it has not fully ripened to its full potentials. And so through the purification, I can stop from going further. And so in that sense, definitely yes. And when karmic purification start, as in experiencing more suffering, what factor determine how long purification will take? Of course, when karmic purification start, we don't always experience more suffering. In some cases, it could, in some cases, we don't have to. In some cases, there can be small suffering. In some cases, there could be more sufferings as a part of purification. And the factor determining how long what factors, there are many factors, that can depend, our sincerity of our practice, how strong our purification, how strong our intention, motivation, how strong our practice. All of that depend on that, whether it can be purified quickly or it takes long, or whether it can be purified where we don't have to experience suffering at all, or whether we can experience little suffering and not big suffering, or whether we experience big sufferings in order to purify all of that. So it depends on many factors, how strong and how sincerely our practice and so forth, many factors like that. What is the relation between personal empowerment and karma? And I think I already spoke about that in the talk. Can karma help us not to feel like a victim? If so, how? And I also already spoke about that in the talk. And please explain collective karma. What does it mean and how does it work? Again, collective karma is when we create collectively, when whether it's 2 persons or 5 persons or 20 persons, 100 persons, 1,000 persons, everyone take an action collectively, then we create collective actions, collective karma. And when we experience the result, then we experience collectively how many people even got involved together in that actions. It could be collective karma of the families. It could be collective karma of the state. It could be collective karma of the country. It could be collective karma of the continent. It could be collective karma of the whole world. It depends how many people or how many sentient beings were involved together in certain actions, and therefore, so therefore, so when we positive or negative, when we create collectively, then we in the future we can experience when the right cause and condition come together, immediate cause and condition come together, then we could experience it collectively together as well. And so that, and I think there is more cautions. I don't know. I think we are getting a little bit. How do we prevent ourselves from falling into self-blame when we think of our present actions are involving present cause and condition that result in ripening of the seed? I think about this in particular with regard to children who are abused. Again, I think it is definitely, it is it's a difficult. I think the important things not to feel self-blame because of the involvement of our present cause and conditions is, I think, we have to be more compassionate ourselves by accepting, that everyone's make sometimes some mistake, and despite that we don't want to make mistake, being unenlightened beings, we do make mistake, and is a natural, is not just ourselves. It happens to all ordinary beings, all sentient beings make a mistake. And so I think being kind and compassionate, and being okay and accepting, as ordinary beings, we can try our best, but despite trying our best, sometimes, we cannot stop from making mistake, and being okay and accepting that can be, and being more compassionate in that way can help to be less self-blaming, having that compassion can help us to be help us from being too harsh on ourselves, and also understanding, that even though there is involvement of our present actions, cause and conditions for whatever situations, but also the primary cause and conditions is past karmic potential or seed. If there is no past karmic seed and potential, even we make same mistake, we will not have the same result. So therefore, even we make the same mistake and engage the same actions and even create the same cause and condition, if there is no past karmic seed and potential, it will not have the same result. It will have a different result. And so again, focusing on that, maybe you might be able to help to not be too self-blaming, by focusing on that. Even though there's two factors, how that factors play important roles, bigger roles. And then there is another question: when is sacrifice useful? I don't know what I mean. Sacrifice, if the sacrifice comes from the depth of your heart, truly from your heart, without any hard feeling, negative feeling, but really from out of real compassion and understanding and kindness, then of course I think it can be useful all the time, you know. But sometimes there is still resentment in our mind, but we kind of sacrifice something, and I don't know whether that is useful, because, you know, in the future that something can trigger that, and then you can be very upset and angry with that, because whatever sacrifice you did, it didn't really come from that very depth of strong love and compassion, and so even though we feel that we're sacrificing whatever we're sacrificing for someone, but since it's not coming from depth of your mind, and later we might be resentful of that, we might be angry with that, and so then in that cases it is not so useful, you know. But always trying to see from what state it is coming from. I guess for both sadhavas, because they come from that pure motivation, love, compassion, bodhicitta, you know, for them, it will be useful all the time, you know. And also they can see, you know, again, it depends on also our wisdom and means to see, you know. Sometimes if someone is kind of rolling over someone or yourself or someone, and taking advantage and exploiting it, sometimes it is good to stand up and make clear that that is not right, and that is incorrect, and that is not good for them, and that is not good for others, and to be able to stand up and to be able to take actions, you know, but definitely without ill will feelings and bad feeling. And there is, I think, one, and then I will kind of, in the example of your bag getting stolen, what was the cause and condition which allowed that karma to ripen? And by your response and working with your mind to develop compassion, does that lessen the ripening of it? I think the cause and conditions is, immediate cause and conditions is, maybe I was not enough mindful and careful, you know, in terms of I guess I was kind of naive. If I was traveling in India and Nepal, I would be more careful and more mindful, and maybe that might have changed cause and conditions, immediate cause and condition. But being in Europe, I thought it was much safe, naive, you know. That is, and so in that cases, I might have been a little bit kind of careless in not paying enough attention, and thinking, oh, there is no one who will kind of still here, you know. So that might be one of the immediate cause and conditions, you know. And then, you know, that person's to be in that moment, in that place, you know, and I don't remember when it's either when I went to restroom or when I was sleeping, either one of them. So another cause and condition is, if I'm sleeping, then sleeping is the immediate cause and condition. Another cause and condition, if I went to bathroom, the immediate cause and condition would have been going to the bathroom without taking the bag with me. So, you know, those might be certain cause and immediate cause and conditions. And by dedicating, by letting it go, and I wish them to be more use for themselves and dedicating, I think we clear the karma, you know, instead of endless karmic. Next time, then again, I steal from him and he lose, and back and forth. Instead of that, then I think I stop that circle of that, and definitely I believe, because when you dedicate your whatever they have stolen to them, their stealing become less strong negative karma. Once you dedicate them, it belongs to them, so it doesn't belong to you anymore. And so that can make their negative karma a little bit lessen as well. And so I think that with that, I think maybe we have to stop here. Otherwise, we can go on. And so we do the dedications. Thank you very much again, everyone. So today we just do the Shantidevas Bodhisattva Avatara. May all beings everywhere plagued by the suffering of body and mind obtain an ocean of happiness and joy by virtues of my merit. May no living creature suffer, commit evil, or even fall ill. May no one be afraid or belittled with the mind weighed down by depression. May the blind see forms and the deaf hear sounds. May those whose bodies are worn with toil be restored on finding repose. May the naked find clothing, hungry find food. May the thirsty find water and delicious drink. May the poor find wealth, those weak with sorrow find joy, and may the forlorn, where is that now? Forlorn find hope, constant happiness and prosperity. May there be timely rain and bountiful harvest. May all the medicine be effective and wholesome prayer bear fruit. May all who are sick and ill quickly be free from all their ailments. Whatever disease they are in the world, may they never occur again. May the frightened cease to be afraid, those bound be freed. May the powerless find power, and may people think of benefiting each other. For as long as space remains, for as long as sentient beings remain, until then may I too remain to dispel the miseries of the world. Thank you very much, and